Hello and welcome to everyone. Let's begin. Circulatory pathways are of two types: open circulatory system and closed circulatory system. Open circulatory system is present in arthropods and mollusks. In this system, blood is pumped by heart through the large vessels into open spaces or body cavities which are called as sinuses. These are present around the organs and allow direct exchange of material like oxygen and nutrients from the blood. This is a diagrammatic representation of an open system. This is the heart. It pumps blood into arteries, and from the arteries blood goes out into open cavities called as sinuses. Exchange of gases, nutrients, etc. takes place in the sinuses, and this blood then later returns back to the heart. This is also an example of an open system. You can see the ostium and blood vessels, and blood moves out of the blood vessels into the cavities. Advantage of this system is that it is a low pressure system and requires less energy. Moving on to the closed circulatory system, it is seen in annelids and chordates. In the closed circulatory system, blood is pumped by the heart and is circulated through a closed network of blood vessels. The blood vessels keep the circulatory fluid, which is the blood, separate from the fluid around the cells, that is the interstitial fluid. Plasma and small molecules, example oxygen, etc., leak out of the blood vessels into the interstitial fluid, and exchange is done in the interstitial fluid. This is a diagram of an earthworm showing closed circulatory system with a network of blood vessels and capillaries. And this diagram is a representation of a closed circulatory system. Heart pumps blood into the arteries. From the arteries and arterioles it reaches the capillaries. In the capillaries, fluid move out of the capillaries into the tissues and form the interstitial fluid through which oxygen, nutrition, etc. is provided to the cells. Blood keeps moving inside the capillaries and then into the veins and reaches the heart again. In the closed circulatory system, blood does not go out of the blood vessels. It keeps circulating inside the blood vessels. Advantage of the closed circulatory system is that it is a high pressure system. Therefore, there is more efficient delivery of nutrients, oxygen, etc. And flow of blood can be precisely regulated. Vessels of the closed circulatory system are arteries, veins, and capillaries. Arteries carry blood away from the heart. Veins deliver blood back to the heart. And capillaries are the site of exchange between blood and interstitial fluid. Large arteries arise from the heart, which break down into smaller arteries, then arterioles, and eventually lead to capillaries. Capillaries then lead to venules, then larger veins, which drain into the heart. So these are the vessels of the closed circulatory system. Now let's look at circulatory systems in different animals. One common point is that all vertebrates have a muscular chambered heart. Let's start with the circulatory system of the fish. Fishes have a single circuit, that is, blood passes through the heart only once. It is also called as single circulation. And they have a heart which has two chambers, one atrium and one ventricle. Atrium receives blood from the body and pumps this blood into the ventricle. Ventricle then sends this blood to the gills for oxygenation. So in the diagram we can see that atrium receives deoxygenated blood from the body and this blood goes into the ventricle. Ventricle then pumps this deoxygenated blood to the gills. Blood gets oxygenated in the gills and this oxygenated blood is supplied to the body parts. And carbon dioxide which is produced is again sent back to the atrium. The deoxygenated blood is again sent back to the atrium. So this is a single circulation. So to recap, fishes have a single circulation and a two-chambered heart. Next are amphibians and reptiles. Amphibians and reptiles, except crocodiles, have incomplete double circulation. So what do you mean by incomplete double circulation? So they have two atrium, left atrium and right atrium, and one single ventricle. The left atrium receives oxygenated blood from either gills or lungs or skin depending upon the habitat of the animal, and right atrium receives deoxygenated blood from different body parts. Both the oxygenated and the deoxygenated blood are pumped into the single ventricle, and this blood gets mixed, and the ventricle then pumps this mixed blood out of the heart. So let's revise this with this diagram. In the diagram we can see that the right atrium receives deoxygenated blood from the different parts of the body, and the left atrium receives oxygenated blood from the pulmonary circuit. So it can receive oxygenated blood from lungs, gills or skin depending upon the habitat of the animal. And both the oxygenated and the deoxygenated blood get mixed in the single ventricle. Ventricle then pumps this blood out of the heart. Some amount of blood goes to the pulmonary circuit and gets oxygenated and comes back to the left atrium. Most of the blood goes to the systemic arteries and reaches different parts of the body. The deoxygenated blood is again returned to the right atrium by the veins. So there are two circuits in this circulation, a pulmonary circuit and a systemic circuit. Therefore it is called as a double circulation, but there is mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Hence it is called as incomplete double circulation. And lastly, in birds, mammals and crocodiles, they also have double circulation because they have a pulmonary circuit and a systemic circuit, and it is called as complete double circulation or just double circulation because there is no mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Let's look at the diagram. Right atrium receives deoxygenated blood from different parts of the body through the veins. This blood then goes into the right ventricle, and from right ventricle it reaches the pulmonary circuit. This blood gets oxygenated in the lungs, and oxygenated blood returns to the left atrium. From the left atrium, this blood goes to the left ventricle. Left ventricle then pumps this blood into the systemic arteries, which deliver oxygenated blood to different parts of the body. And deoxygenated blood again returns through the veins to the right atrium. And this completes the systemic circuit. So it has two circuits, a pulmonary circuit and a systemic circuit. Hence it is called as double circulation, and there is no mixing of deoxygenated and oxygenated blood. Hence it is a complete double circulation. Now let's start with human circulatory system. It is also called as blood vascular system. It consists of muscular chambered heart, a network of closed branching blood vessels, that is arteries, veins and capillaries, and blood, the fluid which is in circulation. Heart is derived from mesoderm. It is mesodermal in origin. It is situated in the thoracic cavity, the thoracic chamber, in between the two lungs, and it is slightly tilted towards the left. This is the thoracic chamber. We have seen this in the chapter of breathing and exchange of gases. And this is the right and the left lung. The heart is situated in between the lungs and it is tilted slightly towards the left. The size of the heart is about the size of a clenched fist, and the heart has a covering which is called as pericardium. In the chapter of breathing we had seen that the lungs also have a covering which is called as pleura, and the pleura was made up of two layers, outer pleura and inner pleura. Similarly, the covering of the heart, that is the pericardium, is also double layered, and there is fluid between the two layers called as pericardial fluid. So moving on with our discussion on heart. Our heart has four chambers, two atria and two ventricles. The two smaller upper chambers are called as atria, right atrium and left atrium, and the two larger lower chambers are called as ventricles, right ventricle and left ventricle. Let's look at this diagram in a bit more detail. The right atrium receives deoxygenated blood from the upper part of the body by superior vena cava and the lower part of the body by inferior vena cava. This blood then goes from right atrium to the right ventricle, and right ventricle pumps this blood into the pulmonary artery. The pulmonary trunk divides into right pulmonary artery and left pulmonary artery. The right pulmonary artery goes to the right lung and the left pulmonary artery goes to the left lung. Blood gets oxygenated in the lungs and oxygenated blood returns to the heart by pulmonary veins. The right pulmonary veins and the left pulmonary veins both drain into the left atrium. From the left atrium, this oxygenated blood goes to the left ventricle. The left ventricle pumps this blood into the aorta, which supplies to the different parts of the body. Now let's cut open this heart and see how it looks from the inside. The four chambers of the heart are separated from each other by septum. The interatrial septum separates the right and the left atrium. The interventricular septum separates the right and the left ventricle. And the atrioventricular septum is a fibrous tissue which is present between the atria and ventricles. So the interatrial septum is a thin wall present between the right and the left atrium, and the interventricular septum is a thicker wall which is present between the right and the left ventricle. This is a very simple diagram of the heart showing only the chambers of the heart. This is the right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium and left ventricle. The thinner wall between the right and the left atrium is the interatrial septum, and the thicker wall between the right and left ventricle is the interventricular septum. A thick fibrous tissue separates the atria and the ventricles, and it is called as atrioventricular septum. The atrioventricular septum has openings through which the atrium and the ventricles of the same side are connected. These openings are guarded by valves which are formed of muscular flaps, also called as cusps. The valve between the right atrium and the right ventricle has three flaps or three cusps, and it is called as tricuspid valve. And the valve between the left atrium and the left ventricle has two cusps, and it is called as mitral valve or bicuspid valve. These cusps are attached to fibrous bands called chorda tendinae. The chorda tendinae are also attached to the papillary muscles. When ventricles contract, the pressure inside the ventricles increase, and this results in closing of the valves. This prevents backflow of blood into the atrium. When the valves are closed, the papillary muscles also contract and the chorda tendinae become tight and prevent these flaps or the cusps of the valves from bulging into the atrium. When the valves are closed, this is how they appear from the above. The tricuspid valve has three cusps and the mitral valve has two cusps. As the mitral valve has two cusps, it is also called as bicuspid valve. There are valves present at the opening of pulmonary artery and the aorta also, and these valves are called as semilunar valves. The valves in the heart allow blood flow in only one direction. The valves between the atria and ventricle, that is the tricuspid and the mitral valve, allow flow of blood from the atrium to the ventricle, and they prevent backflow of blood into the atrium. And similarly, the semilunar valves present in the pulmonary artery and aorta allow blood flow from the ventricles into the pulmonary artery and aorta and prevent backflow of blood into the ventricles. Now a few words about cardiac muscle. Our heart is made up of cardiac muscle. It is a striated involuntary muscle. We have three types of muscles in our body: skeletal muscles, smooth muscles and cardiac muscles. The skeletal muscles are striated and voluntary muscles. Smooth muscles are non-striated and involuntary muscles. And cardiac muscles are striated and involuntary muscles. The diagram is an example of a cardiac muscle. The cells are arranged in a branching pattern. And when we talk about the thickness of muscles of atrium and ventricles, the ventricles have thicker walls than the atrium. It is logical that the ventricles have thicker walls because they have to pump blood against higher pressure. And when we compare the two ventricles, the left ventricle has thicker walls than the right ventricle because pressure in the systemic circulation is higher than the pulmonary circulation. So the left ventricle has to pump blood against much higher pressure than the right ventricle. And finally, a few words about the nodal tissue of the heart. It is a specialized cardiac musculature The SA node or the sinoatrial node is present in the right upper corner of the right atrium. The AV node or the atrioventricular node is present in the lower left corner of the right atrium, close to the atrioventricular septum. The atrioventricular bundle, also called as the bundle of His, continues from the atrioventricular node, that is the AV node. This bundle crosses the atrioventricular septum and reaches the interventricular septum. In the upper part of the interventricular septum, it divides into right and left bundle. The right bundle covers the right ventricle and the left bundle covers the left ventricle. And throughout the ventricular musculature, both the right and the left bundle give multiple small fibers called as the Purkinje fibers. So to recap, action potentials generated by the SA node reach the AV node. From the AV node, a bundle of nodal fibers called as the bundle of His crosses the atrioventricular septum and reaches the interventricular septum. It gives right and left bundle in the interventricular septum. These bundle then give multiple small fibers called as the Purkinje fibers. As I said earlier, the nodal tissue of the heart is a specialized cardiac musculature. Its speciality is that it is auto-excitable. It can generate action potentials without any external stimulus. The SA node can generate the maximum number of action potentials. That is, it can generate about 70 to 75 action potentials per minute. Hence, it is called as the pacemaker of the heart. The SA node is responsible for initiating and maintaining rhythmic contractile activity of the heart. Therefore, each action potential generated by the SA node results in contraction of the atrium and the ventricles and pumping of blood by the heart. So, each action potential generates one heartbeat. Therefore, our heart normally beats at 70 to 75 times a minute. This brings us to the end of the video. In the next video, we will discuss about the cardiac cycle, ECG, a few words about regulation of cardiac activity, and disorders of circulatory system. Thank you for your patient hearing.